an hour of truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Wilson here on Radio Free New York. We are out in the Liberty Closet today, and we also have Sean Phelan here as well. Sean Phelan, the Agent of Chaos. Sean, welcome back to the show. It's been a couple weeks now, I think. So
it's been a while.
Yeah, I know. So now we got to get you in more. But now that we have our great studio set up at Simple Tech, where Andrew is, it's gonna be a lot easier. We used that Tuesday with a guest, and it worked pretty well. So I'm pretty excited about it. But we're here today to talk New York politics.
All right, Fake News Friday. Let's go.
No, it's Thursday.
Oh, wait a minute.
What day of the week you on, Sean? Come on, get it together.
Oh, I'm not used to being here on Thursdays.
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe we'll have to get you in tomorrow, too. We'll see. I don't know what Andrew wants to do yet. So he's the guy calling the shots. But, we're here on Thursday. And Thursday, of course, is kind of the potpourri day. It's a day where we try to just hit the news items that we missed throughout the week. And I think there's a really important one that we had missed earlier this week. Andrew did a great job covering some of the Super Tuesday results on yesterday's show for White House Wednesday. But a huge piece of news happened in relation to New York State this week as it relates to the coronavirus. And of course, people are freaked out by the coronavirus. I think as of today, there are 13 confirmed cases in New York, several in New York City, several in Westchester County. There are people being tested here in Monroe County, where this particular studio is, but that's not too far from many of the counties that are in the listening area for WYSL, where this is being broadcast live, and of course the places where it's being rebroadcast on WENY and WACK, and our online stream as well. So and hi Garrett, and Sean is here.
Garrett,
of course, it reminded me to check our chat stream so we can see what people are up to on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You can even comment on there. So if you have something to say about this, let us know. But people are again freaked out by the idea of the coronavirus. Right now it is. I think a death rate of like a 2%. It's spreading very, very quickly. There have been thousands of deaths linked in China. There have been quite a few. I think there's a couple deaths right now in Italy right now happening in Europe. There are what was the last? I think like 6 confirmed deaths in the United States. Most of those from the Seattle area because a senior care facility was hit.
Yep.
Because the rate of survival for seniors who catch this disease is a lot lower.
See, that's what I really want to know about. I want to know if, who are these people that are dying? Are these the elderly, the super young? Who are they? Are they people that have already had respiratory issues before, or are these healthy lumberjacks? Out there,
for the most part, if you're younger and you're a bit healthier, you're more likely to survive.
Right.
And again, the death rates for people that are close to my age, closer to 30, it's very, very low. Right. But not to say that it isn't a worry and that, that even that low death rate isn't a concern, because again, we want to care about the people who are in their 70s and 80s who are much more vulnerable to this.
Right.
I mean, and so governments are trying to do things from encourage people to wash their hands, which is always good. You shouldn't just do that when there's a looming pandemic, and that's something that is good for all the time. It's just wash your hands thoroughly, do it for 20 seconds. I'm pretty bad about that. I do the thing where I wash it really quick and all right, great, fine.
Yeah.
And it's not a good habit to be in. But you should be washing your hands more. You should be trying to do things like avoiding touching your face. Actually, President Trump said, I haven't touched my face in weeks, which is, Well, it's actually a good thing to do. I think of like all these presidential candidates, Trump, Biden, Bernie. They're the most vulnerable group. They're in their 70s, all of them.
Yeah, no, we can only hope, can't we?
God, jeez, don't say stuff like that. but yeah, so there are some governments though that are doing things like doing quarantine measures. Private organizations are already doing that. I think St. John Fisher's already quarantined some of their students who were in Italy and had come back,
Yep.
and that's a college here in the Rochester area. For those of you who aren't from that. And yes, Garrett, we are going to talk about what New York State is doing because he says, please talk about funding and executive power expansion bill that New York State Senate just passed. And that's the big topic of
Garrett,
the day.
who leaked that information to you?
I think the title was, did we just give Governor Cuomo too much power?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where that's coming from.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room right now.
Yeah, so that's what just happened. And we only have a couple more minutes left to talk about it, but executive want to be able to act quickly, right? So they want to be able to say like they can issue quarantine orders for towns or cities or for individual residents. They want to be, and I'm making the case for this.
Right.
We'll,
I just
we'll
want
argue
to.
against
I
it
just
in
want
a
to
second.
stay. I want to step one step back.
Okay. What?
First of all, you have to have the that classic. We have to be doing something.
Yeah. No, you have to be
so
doing
that's
something.
the first step. So that leads into, having the ability to move quickly.
No, for sure. I mean, but the government's response is like they have to act upon this, right? And I think there's actually a pretty legitimate case that there is a government role in helping to limit the spread of disease. But I think there's also libertarian solutions to this too that don't necessarily include kind of like ham-fisted, one-size-fits-all like federal government or state government actions. Right. I think there are better ways to handle this on like a local level or handle it with some market-based solutions and things like that. So, I want to make sure that we spend some time this hour talking about that. But, in response to this, when people are scared, when people are fearful, you're right. They want the government to do something. And they don't want there to be a delay because legislatures are infamously slow in being able to act quickly in response to an immediate crisis. So, because of that, what the New York State legislature has done, the Assembly and Senate, is there's a bill in the Assembly that says it permits the governor to issue by executive order any directive necessary to respond to a state disaster emergency and makes a $40 million appropriation from the state purposes account of the general fund for responding to the outbreak of coronavirus disease 2019. All right, so that's the Assembly bill, and so that had passed. A bill had passed overwhelmingly in the Senate as well that essentially gave Governor Cuomo very broad-ranging powers to be able to respond to the coronavirus emergency. But wait, it's not just about the coronavirus.
I mean, but the 62 counties. I mean, $40 million isn't even $1 million to each county.
Yeah, well, I think the idea is, and correctly, is that you use it to do things like buy test kits and get them to the appropriate medical suppliers, right? Like it's probably going to be organizations like Strong up here in Rochester or Upstate Medical in Syracuse or whatever it is.
Imagine we lived in a libertarian society where the county would have already had that money distributed out to them, and they would have had it sitting in a bank ready to go and not have to deal with all of this legislation and nonsense, and they could have instantly used the money right away. Boom.
Well, I think you're still getting it from a government source there. And I think the issue is that a lot of counties don't have a lot of extra money laying around because sometimes 90 to 100% of their budget is mandated by the state. Without levying new taxes, there's no way for counties to be able to issue these funds and to just have them available for medical providers. And again, a lot of them are relying on state and federal resources to be able to do this.
Right. Basically what I was getting at is, the state should have already put together some kind of pandemic fund that should have already been distributed out to the counties so that each county could easily have, used the money as they, needed it. If it's not in Rensselaer County, then Rensselaer County doesn't need to use it. It's here in Monroe County, then Monroe County would be able to use it. We wouldn't have to wait for the state's permission.
I think that was kind of the idea behind this bill, and you're selling it, Sean. Good for you. But we are coming up on a break, and we will be back in just a few moments. Thanks again for joining us on Radio Free New York.
Kevin, you're a little hotter than Sean, so maybe you might want to back away from the mic a bit. Welcome.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
College Assistance Plus has worked with thousands of families, saving them millions of dollars. It can be stressful choosing the right college, but we're here to help. CA Plus will guide you from college visits to college graduation and through every step in between. Each student and family situation is different, and we work to accommodate those specific needs. Call today for a free family meeting, 585-582-1846, or visit collegeassistanceplus.com for more information. College is expensive. College Assistance Plus can help.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or up
Last spot.
website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
There's music. You're listening to Radio Free New York. Thanks for joining us today, and we are talking about the government's response to the coronavirus. And specifically, we want to get into what New York State is doing, because New York State is giving Governor Cuomo massive power to be able to respond to this.
He's giving him a lot more than massive power. He's giving him a lot of power.
Yeah.
Very vague power.
Right. So what the governor has done, or what the state legislature has done, is, and sorry, I'm getting a bit of of an echo, so it's been distracting. But what it's done is it said that the governor is allowed to suspend entire laws and local ordinances when the state is responding to certain emergencies, including terrorist attacks, hurricanes, tornadoes, and disease outbreaks, or the quote-unquote imminent threat of one.
Yeah, that's the key phrase right there. And to summarize that into just simple language, he's basically being given the right to declare martial law when he thinks that there may be a warranted reason to do so.
Yeah, right. And I don't know exactly who determines this. I don't know if this is a state legislature determination or the governor can just say, I am declaring a state of emergency, therefore I am able to suspend laws in these local towns and municipalities to be able to do whatever the governor needs to do.
Initiate curfews.
Yeah, right.
Travel restrictions.
Travel restrictions. Yeah.
All sorts of real ugliness.
Yeah, no, and some of the stuff like I don't particularly like, and I get like why sometimes you need again kind of an extreme response to like a very serious disease outbreak. Like I want to be like sympathetic to the people who are worried about that. Like, hey, if we can stop the movement of this disease, then we could save quite a few lives. Because even if the survival rate, the mortality rate is 2%. If that's impacting half of the country, 150 million people, like 2% is a lot of people. So you want to try to contain that as fast as you can until people are able to effectively develop a vaccine to be able to kind of contain its spread a little bit. Because right now there's no vaccine to be able to contain the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And what's interesting is like we have like this quote from the Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins. It says, "We could continue to debate whether or not there is an overreach of power, but the reality is our state and our nation continues to look for leadership, and we were probably better than most places have the ability act. We probably better than most." Does that make sense? All right.
No.
No. All right. I'm like, no, I'm reading that right. That just doesn't make much sense to me. But yeah, so the governor now has like again this massive amount of power to be able to act in this capacity, and
unchecked,
right? And again, like you're wondering like what's like an imminent threat of a terrorist attack? Like it's because I don't worry about it necessarily in the context of the COVID-19 thing. Again, I think that for the most part, some action might be warranted on this case. But I worry about how this might be applied. I don't know why the state assembly felt the need to include all these other provisions and like every other natural disaster in the imminent threat of a terrorist attack rather than, and again, I don't know exactly what that means and what action the governor is allowed to take, because essentially we've given the governor near dictatorial powers to be able to act in anything that Governor Cuomo declares an emergency. And again, this bill too was also passed under like an order of emergency. Senators and assembly members weren't able to read it. It was passed at like midnight Monday.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was a really late night thing. Again, they had to vote on it like late at night. They couldn't be given an entire day to even vote on it. They're like, no, we need this $40 million now. We need to act now. And if you're not acting on it, then you're exposing New York to potentially more outbreak,
and you're unpatriotic.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things like even if the core of the bill is good, even if like it is worthwhile to spend the money to be able to help prevent the spread of this disease, like why couldn't they be given a day? It's not going to be distributed in a day. Why on earth couldn't they just like take a full day to read this bill?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what keeps happening. It's happening on the federal level too. There's I forget how big it is, but like there's a several $billion bill that I know Congressman Amash was complaining about because a similar thing happened. There's like, well, we weren't even given the opportunity to read it. We're expected to vote on this bill without an opportunity to be able to find out what's in it. Sure, it's a spending bill to help combat COVID-19, but you have to wonder like, what if something similar is going on in the Congress that is going on in the New York State Legislature?
Yeah, what happens if like just the common flu just starts to outbreak in some city like Binghamton, for example, and Cuomo decides to overreact to the situation and shuts down the entire city of Binghamton.
Yeah, right. I mean that's something that could be in the power of the governor to act. And again, there are serious major consequences to like kind of these broad-based solutions from the state level on responding to disease, right? Like this has incredible economic consequences. If you shut down an entire city and you quarantine an entire city, that means like people aren't working, that the factories there are shut down. They're not able to pay their workers or ship product out. People aren't able to attend schools. So there's all these different consequences. Again, maybe the cost of it's going to cost the economy is going to be worth it in some of these situations because it could save lives. But I I'm a little bit skeptical about like how the governor is going to respond to this, and I would like to think that anytime that the governor is going to do something like this, if the governor were to actually use the powers that were given to him in this way, that he'd be consulting with town officials, county officials, health officials, doctors in the region, universities, all that stuff, and they would all come to the conclusion that this is absolutely necessary. And again, I would hope that would be the case for COVID-19. But again, what do we where do we draw the line for something like other emergencies as the governor gets to define them?
Right.
And is there any limiting power on the governor to do this? Right now, the only limit I see is that luckily, and this is rare for a bill, there's a sunset provision in this bill. So it actually does end. It will expire on April 30th, 2021. So the state legislature would have to renew this bill in April 2021.
Yearly.
Yeah, and I hope that's the case. That's really, honestly, that's how I think most bills should go, is that there should always be sunset provisions for bills, because, like, instead of just, like, kind of letting things run on autopilot, which is how a lot of government works nowadays, it's like, okay, is this still a good idea? Does it still make sense that we give the governor essentially unlimited, almost dictatorial powers to be able to suspend laws of local governments, to be able to suspend democracy in a sense, because again, these local laws that you might have in your town or your city or your county, the governor can now supersede those when he declares an emergency.
And keep in mind that our government isn't exactly truthful, and when acting on these kind of things, the supposable terrorists that Trump had assassinated recently. They said he was an imminent threat.
Are you talking about General Soleimani?
Yeah, Soleimani. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the Iran.
Yeah,
I mean that's.
There was supposed to be an imminent threat. Well, they just found out there is no imminent threat. There never was an imminent threat.
Yeah, I mean that one's tough because he's a bad guy for sure, or was a bad guy. But the imminent threat thing is where it gets funny, and that's again something that could bring the entire United States to war.
Right, WMDs. It's just our government doesn't. But I'm just saying our government is not forthcoming with giving us reasons to act the way they're acting.
Yeah,
and I think that a single false flag, in New York State, Cuomo would have a knee-jerk reaction, and next thing you know, there's National Guard troops rolling down your street.
Right. And I don't I'm not gonna go down that false flag rabbit hole. But what I could say is again, like if an incident is misinterpreted or something, right? Then we get, again, you and I always like to talk about like the government likes to over-respond to things because in the eyes of politicians, it's better to over-respond than to under-respond to a crisis. Because if you over-respond like, oh, look, see, we're just very prepared, this is fine, this is all about keeping you safe. If you under-respond and then someone gets hurt, then suddenly, like, people are getting kicked out of office, right?
But, like, for example, this bill easily could be misused for, say, a blackout. If you have a blackout situation that lasts more than, 24 hours, he could basically declare martial law.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what this does. Is again, it gives the governor the ability to declare martial law. And again, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. Please let us know in the chats and whatnot. What you think. And again, this is a bill that passed overwhelmingly. The Senate voted 53-4 in favor of this measure. The Assembly voted 120-12. And again, this was just after midnight Tuesday morning. And actually, what the interesting part about this too is that the governor actually says that it doesn't go far enough. He says that the bill should go actually further than what we have right now, which is surprising.
That's scary.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pull up the my tab closed for it, but I'm trying to pull up the news article about that because let's see if we could say again, in these situations, I always think of like how the Patriot Act got passed, right? Like we're writing the governor a blank check, just like the Patriot Act kind of wrote the federal government a blank check because people were scared. They wanted something to immediately done to make them feel safe. And suddenly, we end up losing the rule of law. We end up concentrating power on the executive to be able to act in ways that we cannot possibly predict. Again, and if we have this like power, it isn't. Maybe you trust Governor Cuomo. I don't. You can listen to the opening sequence of our show. You can tell that we're not big fans of Governor Cuomo. But if you're a Democrat listening to this too, like imagine how like a Republican could abuse this, or another Democrat that maybe you don't think is as warm and fuzzy as Governor Cuomo. I don't know why you would think that, but maybe you're a big fan of him. Whatever. But the point is that it's not just about how the current person in power is going to be able to use the ability to declare martial law. It's about the next person, and the person that happens there. So we'll keep talking about this a little bit more right after the break. Thanks again for joining us today on Radio Free New York. We'll be back in just a few.
Now, more than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the Newstead NBC Weather Center. Tonight, we'll see some increasing.
Yeah, you guys were wobbling when we came back from that break.
Low 30s. Friday, a little bit of rain and snow mixed during the morning, changing to wet snow in the afternoon.
Yeah, your internet must have been having an issue. Ours was fine on this end.
I'm Rich Cadelia, WYSL.
Know why everybody's picking Patrick? It's the price. And it's easy. Patrick Buick GMC is the largest, most experienced Buick GMC dealer in Rochester. People...
Because I would have lost our FM connection if that had happened here, but just FYI.
People pick Patrick for our 3,000 five-star reviews with a 97% approval rating. And did you know Patrick has access to over 1,000 Buick and GMC trucks and SUVs? These days, everybody's picking Patrick for our special pricing for educators, GM employees, GM suppliers, military and first responders, even college grads. Plus, all our amazing offers at PatrickBuickGMC.com. Patrick, we are professional grade. Corner of Lehigh Station and West Henrietta Road. See why everybody's picking Patrick Buick GMC in Henrietta. Remember, it's easy to save more at your exclusive SUV and truck dealer.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax.
We started our company 10 years ago in an effort to help our fellow Christians experiencing tax issues resolve their matters by taking a simple 3-step approach.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys that specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results. We're also a small firm who will treat you like family, not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
Proverbs 15:22 says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Mary Carriola Center.
Last spot.
Hiring. Direct support professionals, teacher aides, nurses, teacher and clinical positions are available. Carriola's Grow Our Own program offers the opportunity to develop and advance your career through scholarships or tuition discounts for certification and degree programs at area colleges, all while you work and continue to earn a paycheck. Simply put, we pay for you to grow with us. Apply today at marycarriola.org/employment or visit Carriola Careers on Facebook.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Radio Free New York, and there's Kevin, not in studio today, but in the day. Also, Sean Phelan, agent of chaos, in studio, and we're talking about New York State's response to the coronavirus. And I did find that article where Governor Cuomo talks about this. Again, Governor Cuomo says that this does not go far enough. He says, okay, I suspend an existing law, but that does not give you the ability to do anything. You can't do anything. How do you do a quarantine? How do you do anything? He said during an event in Capitol. Suspension of an existing law means I am removing an impediment from an agency, but it does not give you the ability to affirmatively do anything, and in this situation, the government has to act. He's saying that despite the fact that he's essentially allowed to declare martial law in New York State, this bill doesn't give him the ability to, again, quarantine individuals or do anything like that. So he wants this bill to go further.
That's scary.
Yeah, no, I don't think that we should do that. And I think most people are going to be cooperative. And I think if you have situations where there's a lot more coercion involved, like it starts to escalate quickly. And I don't particularly like that. And again, the government and the health commissioner, they already have a lot of like broad power to do some of this stuff anyway. It's surprising, and again, most people are cooperative with that. They're not going to try to fight when they're like, okay, yeah, I might be sick. I need to go and like stay away from my friends and family because I don't want them to get sick either. Because the scary part about this disease is it takes weeks for symptoms to be able to start manifesting, and you're contagious in that time.
Mm-hmm. I could understand possibly, like having a board of people put together, of like 12 or 13 people that would be able to make this decision. But to put all this power into one person's hands is dictatorial. It's
frightening again.
It's not good.
And again, and it's not, as we talked about before the break, it's not just about Governor Cuomo. It's about like what the next person does too. Is the next person going to abuse this power if we don't sunset this resolution and let it expire, or at least figure out like what does the governor actually need to be able to respond to a disease outbreak? And I think we need to really narrow down. It's like, okay, in a disease outbreak, the governor or the state or the county officials, they can do these different things to be able to respond, and we kind of agree that that's an appropriate response to the situation. And it's not just a blanket solution like in potential terrorist attacks, in volcanic eruptions, in other natural disasters, like the governor can just do whatever he or she wants.
I like the volcanic, because I'm an earth science guy, so I like the volcanic eruption one, because there's no volcanic activity around Western New York or even any in New York.
Yeah.
Eric from Angelica.
All right, and it sounds like we have Eric from Angelica on the line. Eric, what do you got?
Hey guys, how are you? Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, and this is absolutely a power grab. This governor, and I would submit that almost anybody in that position that's put forth by one of the two political corporations does not really care about public health. They care about power. And that is what you see. Now, there's a reason he acknowledged that this doesn't give him the proactive power to do anything, because he doesn't have it. He can claim anything he wants. He can write up a piece of toilet paper and get the approval of a couple of hundred attorneys in the legislature, but that means nothing. It only means something if there are people out there who are stupid enough to enforce the power grab. And that's what it is. Be assured, none of that $40 million is going to be going to buying masks for us or more beds for people who are critical. And I looked at where the funding was going. It's going to hire more people, more personnel for the public health department to sit around a table and chat and talk and write up edicts and figure out how they're going to control us.
Yeah. No, and that's, I definitely want to look into that, because I haven't seen like what specifically the $40 million is earmarked for, but I did see that a lot of it was for hiring new personnel. And yeah, what we need is we need masks, which are going up quite a bit, and then we also need the testing kits too. But Eric, thank you so much for the call. Like you make a lot of good points, and I think like one kind of rule of politics is that like you never let a good crisis go to waste. And boy, howdy, is this a crisis. And so in this moment of crisis, the government is saying, yes, just give us more power. It's going to be fine. I know you're scared now, but we will protect you. We will keep you safe. But once we give up that rule of law, it's incredibly difficult to get it back again, because, what if we need it?
Yeah, and like you were saying, okay, we already know what Cuomo would do with this. What if the next guy, I mean, what would somebody like Bloomberg do with it? What would somebody like Trump do with that kind of power? And I mean, what would somebody like Vermin Supreme do? He'd take your ponies away.
You always
put your
gotta bring up
ponies.
Vermin.
He put your ponies in quarantine.
Oh boy. But anyway, yeah. I mean, but again, to that point is this is a concentration of power. It is a growth of the bureaucracy. And again, we don't necessarily need more like public health officials that are trying to come up with strategies to do what they need to do. Like a lot of the doctors and public health officials that are in place, like kind of understand generally what type of strategy is supposed to happen and what sort of supplies they need. And it's better to just get those resources to like the people who understand the situations on the ground more effectively than to try to, again, do a top-down solution in this case. All this is doing is concentrating power. And again, getting to the point of what I think like the better libertarian response to this is that most of this, like the quarantine measures and things like that should be happening at the local level, right? Like outbreaks don't happen all across the state at the same time. They happen in local places.
Yes.
So, like there's an outbreak in Westchester specifically right now. Okay, so like Westchester has to figure out like travel in and out of the town, whether or not they should have quarantine measures, like if you're showing symptoms, what you do, if you've been exposed to someone showing symptoms, what you should do, and then have a point of contact for that area.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think there could be a state rule in guiding some of that, but I don't think that the state should really be taking the lead role in that.
Right. It's like I was saying before, if they'd already allocated money to the counties to be used in these situations, then each county could respond to their individual situation as opposed to having a statewide mandate. Cuomo, let's say this happened in Long Island, Cuomo could shut the island down.
Yeah,
I mean, he literally could cut the island off. I mean, Staten Island. I mean, anything. And so it's like even though only 2% of the population might be sick, now you've trapped 100% of the population in that area.
I mean, and the argument would be is that that's necessary to keep people safe, and I think a lot of people are going to buy that argument, and that's a challenge for like us is like how do us people who want like more limited government say like that this isn't necessary, that this disaster doesn't warrant that, and that if we give this executive power to the governor, that we're never going to be able to bring that back into the hands of the people or into like governing bodies back again.
I guess this what I'm saying is that it's more of it's a medical emergency issue rather than a political emergency issue. So I think that
everything's political.
So. Yeah, I know that's the unfortunate thing, but I think that the hospitals already know what to do. They already have drills that they do, regarding massive outbreaks and stuff like that. They already know. So what does Cuomo need to be doing, to authorize the director of that hospital to initiate the quarantine measure? No, he's going to know what he has to do.
Yeah. Again, people are looking for political leadership to be able to confirm that. That's, I mean, for better or worse, that's what it looks like right now. But again, I don't think it needs to be that way. I think like the better response is to kind of trust like people who have knowledge of the situation on the ground. The state could provide resources. Again, it's the mass thing. It's the some coordination of resources, getting the testing kits, the funding, like that type of stuff. Like I think like that's fine. Right. And again, I'm not always a big fan of spending money, but I think that there's a role for this in kind of coordinating and sharing knowledge and sharing best practices. But when you get to the point of being able to suspend the law, to quarantine people, to do things like that, I get a bit more nervous because I can see how that can spin out of control really quickly. And, you see what's happening in China. And China has tried to contain this in part by, again, violating the civil liberties of the people who've been impacted by the disease. And they use this not just to contain disease, but also to crack down on dissent.
And I want to say to our listeners that, like, if you ever come across anybody that has a differing opinion to what we're saying here, sit them down and put them in front of the movie V for Vendetta and watch what happens there.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us here on Radio Free New York. We will be taking our last break of the hour, and we'll be back for the last segment in just a couple minutes.
You guys are breaking up when you first came back from that last break, and then about a minute or two ago it was stuttering again.
Why do businesses choose to move their web?
Just FYI.
Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever.
Kevin, you're still hitting the red a little bit. Maybe even if you just back away from the mic a little or turn the mic down here, maybe it's overdriving.
They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it.
I don't know if you can see the level if your computer's right in front of you or not.
Plus, Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Human trafficking is when someone is being forced, tricked, or coerced to engage in a sex trade or forced labor. If you're a kid and forced to sell sex, drugs, or work against your will, that's trafficking. You're not a criminal, and there is help available. Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888 or text Be Free. Sponsored by the Livingston County Safe Harbors Human Trafficking Task Force.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating.
Last spot.
Them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome to Radio Free New York. Okay, yeah, back off my. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm loud. I'm getting. Just shouting to my. No, see, now I definitely went to the red and our producer. Right now. So sorry about that, guys. But yeah, we're talking about again the government response to coronavirus outbreak, specifically in New York. We'll have to spend a whole other one on federal response to that. But I do want to get to like what things that people outside can do on this, and like market forces work in terms of responding to disease outbreaks. So one of the ways that can happen is, again, you can have just like private organizations who just decide to not do events. Like I know several conferences have been canceled. They just said, hey, it's not worth it. We don't want to put our attendees at risk. We're going to just cancel the conference. I think that's fine. That's responsible.
I like what the schools are doing. The schools are being proactive.
Yeah.
They're putting together plans, in case quarantines happen and, an outbreak happens with the schools. That's the kind of planning I was talking about, earlier.
Schools should do it. Businesses, too, are saying, like, hey, if you're you've been exposed to coronavirus or you think you might have been, then like setting up plans to be able to work from home. So places are saying like go home, test your internet connection, do things like that. So that's a great thing, and it doesn't need to be directed by government. Just businesses, just on their own. We have technology to be able to do that more effectively. Syracuse University is doing this. They are expanding their online classes, so people are able to do distance learning. So again, if you're worried about an outbreak happening on campus, you're able to see that professor's lecture and do the coursework from a digital environment. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this in response to the fear of COVID-19. Unlike as long as the government doesn't get in the way, and gosh, they sure might. But like I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities for distance learning. For students to be able to connect with their course materials while maybe not going to school, because it's too risky to go into that type of environment.
But when I first got into teaching, I was telling my students, I said, by the time you will get old enough and you have kids, I said, your kids are not going to be handing their work in on paper.
Yeah. Hey, well, I mean, you're right, right? And so that's part of it. Sports games sometimes can get canceled too, and that's another thing. It's like, hey, maybe it's not worth it. Like, there's an outbreak in this area, but maybe there's other situations where it's lower risk. You don't have to worry about. I mean, again, the scary thing about this disease is it can be spread through the air a little bit easier than a lot of other diseases. So just like being in close proximity to people can put you a lot more risk, and it stays on the surface of on surfaces a lot longer than a lot of other diseases.
So like
too.
People in close areas, small confined spaces, breathing into a microphone, too closely,
exactly.
Things like that.
Now
Okay.
if one of us has it, then now we both do. Surprise.
Wunderbar.
Yeah, and so that's one response. The other thing that you hear a lot about is price gouging. Now, so you're seeing this with two different materials specifically. One is the N95 masks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you try to go and buy those right now, you can't. And in fact, medical providers are having trouble getting access to those because people keep buying them up.
Mm-hmm.
And the other product you're seeing is hand sanitizer, which I tried to go and buy at both Costco and Wegmans over the weekend, and they were out.
I don't use hand sanitizer. I never really used it, and I think it's a joke, to be honest with you.
Oh, it's effective in a pinch. I mean, it's okay. Well, it's 99% effective in bad conditions and like 60% effective the way most people use it. But,
Okay,
60% of viruses, bacteria will be killed, from what I understand.
At my house, I take the dish soap and I put a little bit of bleach into it, shake it all up good, and nobody gets each other sick in the house. So that works.
Well, all right. I mean,
I don't need hand sanitizer.
Dr. Sean, trust him.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Yeah.
When do you see me sick?
Well, I don't know. And I do. I do want to acknowledge the comments really quick. John commented several times, so thank you. And he said that Eric, that's what New York Democrats do, spending our money to grab power, and asked state senators what they're doing with new federal money to the tune of over $1 billion. State will have a huge share. I think that's worth asking.
I'm sure Garrett has something to say.
No, yeah, he's just commenting on the sound quality. So,
no,
we're just working out the bugs. Just because, and again, me and Andrew and Sean, we all like have things going on during the day, so it's sometimes tough to get out to the studio, trying to make it work remotely. So we appreciate you sticking with us during this time. But again, back to the prices thing, really quick. What happens when something is priced too low when there is an incredible demand for it?
Mm-hmm.
It sells out, right?
Yeah.
Like people are just like, okay, suddenly N95 masks are seen as very, very valuable. Suddenly hand sanitizer is seen as very, very valuable. So what's a way to correct that to make sure that the people who really, really need it get those supplies? Well, there's two things you could do. You could either take away the supplies and like hoard them, use government force to do that, or you can increase prices.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two things you could do, is you can say, and that's what you're seeing, is like if you look on Amazon for either of those two products, they are much, much, much more expensive than they were. And now, so people who really need them or feel like that it's really important for them to have those masks or to have that hand sanitizer, you're going to have to pay a premium for that stuff. In places where prices aren't going up, like supermarkets, people are hoarding it. They're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get hand sanitizer, so I'm going to just buy 10 of them. And they're just going to scoop up a big armful. But if the price were a bit higher, people would be less likely. But okay, maybe I don't need 10 of these. Maybe I'm just going to buy 2 or 3, and that's going to be fine.
Right. I've seen. I saw on Twitter where there was a situation that somebody had shown that a news agency came into the supermarket, and they took everything off the shelves and then filmed the empty shelves.
I did see that.
It's like, are you kidding?
You can do that. If you look, like the hand sanitizer thing is like a real thing. Like you go look there, like it's gone. Weirdly, everyone's buying toilet paper too, even though it's like you don't need it as much in this situation. Although that's exactly what I did. I was like, I'm gonna buy toilet paper and water. I went to Costco.
It's funny you said water because I
rice.
saw people stocking up on water.
Yeah, I mean, even though like chances are the water infrastructure is going to be just fine in this situation, and plus, I have other water supplies that I keep in the house too, just for emergency situations. It's probably going to be fine. I keep food in the house, though. I think it's a good idea generally, just because if you are quarantined, I want to make sure that I have stuff to eat because I can't go out to Wegmans.
You always Uber Eats and stuff,
Well, I mean, some of those people aren't going to want to go out either. They're gonna be like, why am I going to go to this quarantine house?
Think about how much money they'd be making.
I don't know. I guess they got to decide, right? And let the market decide, right? Like, is it worth it? Like, okay, well, I'll deliver your food, but it's going to cost you like $25 this time.
Yeah, and I think some dude shows up in like a hazmat outfit, know?
Yeah, I'll be the Uber delivery guy. At least let me suit up. I'll take all these orders. But again, in these types of situations, prices can be a really good signal for like how you determine like how products are distributed, right? Like hospitals should be the ones getting the
2 minutes.
They can afford to pay a little bit more for them, while suppliers try to catch up. Again, those are the type of folks that should be buying them. And again, you guys, just a small note on that mask thing, like it's probably not going to help you in most situations. Like you can't wear it all day. You can only wear it once. With those N95 masks, they are good for like surgeons, and if you're putting everything on properly and all that stuff, but your average person is probably not going to benefit hugely from the mask. What the other surgical masks do though is they help prevent the spread of it, so it'll contain it a little bit better. But that's it. The main thing is, guys, just wash your hands and don't touch your face, which. Terrible for me, as I've explained. I touch my face. You guys probably see it on camera all the time. I touch my
do it
face
all the
constantly
time.
because I have beard. And this is how I think. But again, that's the biggest thing you could do is just do those things. But on the price thing, I don't think that the government should come in and try to institute price controls, because again, that's how you help make sure that the people who most need those supplies get it, because it becomes
1 minute.
If you need to spend a little bit more money, make sure you get that hand sanitizer, that's fine. Again, that is a better situation that ensures that there's more supply of that good around than if you were to just fix the prices in place and not do anything with it.
I agree.
Yeah, okay, I agree.
But
I
think the hospitals should have the priority.
Oh, probably. And maybe so, but that's another way to do it, is the government could say, maybe Governor Cuomo could say, like, okay, I guess hospitals get the right of first refusal or something.
Yeah.
So that's an option you could have. So there we go. Sean endorses making Governor Cuomo a dictator. We're just gonna end the show on that note. He's giving me a look right now. All right, but thanks so much for joining us on Radio Free New York today. And please continue this discussion in the comments to see other people are commenting in here. Appreciate you joining us.